So we're just talking about triggers best practice. So if you ask me what is trigger, so a few conditions we have written yesterday. So this is how the triggers would look like, and in whatever the condition. Um, so triggers have few basic things. So when I say triggers, we will have events and when do you want it to execute and who all getting impacted. Of course, the triggering we are talking is the first thing is uh, on a record change. Something you do on a record, that is what we say is a triggering moment when the record is getting changed. So either on a record, let's say you're trying to create a new record, so then a change has been there, then some event has been fired. If you're updating a record, so yes, you want to fire by that time, yes. If you delete, if you undelete, any DML activity you're doing it, so we wanted to fire something. Instead of after inserting you're doing something, or before inserting only you want to do something. So this is the few things we have. So why do we have such questions like say before and after all we talk is there would be something pre-propagating value and something I want to pre-processor before a record is getting saved. So that is my motive. Then you all go to the before logics. So then something if you want to say, hey, only after record is saved, so then I should depend or I should do look into other objects. Then you go to after record, after triggers. So this before and after we were talking about for which record if you ask. On a same record, let's say you are trying to get an account, before saving a record, you have to do something. You want to do something. Or after saving a record of an account, whatever it is, whichever the object is, all I'm talking about one object. Before saving the an object, you do some activity. Before saving, after saving on record of the particular object, you do some activity. So this is one thing we want to know. And always when I say about before triggers on the particular object, you are trying to impact on the same object. Let's say I'm trying to deal with the account and I have written all the logic, whatever I'm trying to do is save. So before saving a record, if you say, okay, the same object I'm trying to impact it. Now when I say after trigger, so after this particular record which you're trying to do, it is getting saved. Now you're starting impacting on other objects. Maybe they are all child objects or dependent objects or independent objects, whatever could be. We cannot say that they are related or not related, but you're not impacting to the same object in the after triggers. You are trying to impact on others. Only when after saving a record of this particular account or account object or any object I'm saying. But it's idly the whole trigger will be written on one object. Let's say for example, you're writing an object on account, then you write whole logic, before logic and after logic. Or writing on something custom object. So you're writing a before or after. So every object can have a before and after phase. So should I just give an example of someone has a weight loss, like they will have a before and after. Yeah, this is absolutely matches for a single person. Right. So same like object also we have like, and every object can have a before phase or after phase. In a before phase, they are trying to impact on others. In after phase, they're trying to impact on others. In a before phase, they are trying to impact on the same for themselves. In after phase, they're trying to impact on others. So this is also kind of example. Let's see. So in a before phase, when you're there, so you are worried about I'm appetite, too much of weight, have all that it is there. So once they reduce the weight, so they try to promote others. So that is after trigger. After weight loss, you say to other people, say, boss, I've
So,
reduced.
so I have one question, Khan. So after trigger never impacts the same object ever. There will be no situation like that.
So it is like looping back to same. I mean, to yourself.
It never happens in
It never
after trigger.
happens.
Okay.
See, only a record is getting clicked and saved, and a record ID is getting generated, and post it only are impacting others. You're about to create an account. An account record is created. You got an ID. So once the ID has been generated, then you're trying to impact others. So absolutely, you are completing your activity. So then you're starting impacting others. That is what is after trigger it is.
No, I was just thinking about a scenario where, like, in general, like, if you're like, if you're initiating an event, if there is a scenario where we have to update the originating table again, will there be something like that?
Mm,
So maybe we trigger a process, and once it is process is complete, we
Mm.
want to set a flag to true, which was false before. Will there be a scenario like that?
So yeah, if you so what is that meaning? It is somehow you're trying to impact the same object, right?
Yeah.
Then go with the after trigger. Sorry, go with the before triggers.
Or we can pick and choose what kind of trigger we want to
Ooh.
use.
You're saying that
Okay.
absolutely I wanted to impact the object where I started. Same way I want to impact. Okay, go with the before trigger.
Okay. Okay.
Now you're saying that on save of these record I will impact others means it is go, you should go to after trigger. After trigger is intentionally to for other guys, not for the same object. If you are
Okay.
impacting on the same object, then stick to before triggers.
Okay.
See, after is something this is something after a record is getting saved or updated or deleted. So a particular ID of the record would be in a read mode.
Mm.
So I was giving an example. Um, so let me open it. See, I said a new here. So this is a record which we have. The moment I click a save, so in the between, it pre-process few things to pre-populate some values or do some logic and get the records or whatever it is. Uh, but ideally, you're trying to impact on this particular record. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So unless and until the ID is getting generated, you're doing some activity to pre-populate something. Like how a free workflow field update, you're trying to pre-populate some value, or a
Mm-hmm.
process builder, you're trying to pre-populate some value. So like that same thing. So trigger is advanced same way, but they also can do the job of whatever the workflow process builder all does. They can also do it. So the thing is, so they are trying to impact on the same object.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So now after
Yeah.
you save a record, the ID is generated. So so our intention is okay. The moment is the record is getting saved, if the account is created. So let's say this record is created. So now if you have a child records like this, you are trying to impact on this. For example, I created an account. Automatically, you're trying to create a contact for this account. So if you go to related list, you see a contact here. Getting the moment you create a account, you're trying to get a contact here. That you can do an after trigger only.
Okay.
Because after an account created only, you can create a contact, right?
Contact. Yeah.
So it is a sequence. After creating an account, only you can create a contact. Or after updating an account only, you can impact something on the not a contact. Maybe it could be different objects. So those ways we can do a after triggers. If I say before trigger, generally you are impacting on the account only. If you say after triggers, after saving this record, you're trying to impact on maybe contact, opportunity, others,
Not objects. Okay.
other objects. So that's how the meaning is. See, for example, I've put here one of the example use case I've got it here is on insert of an account based on the address. I wanted to look at the nearest restaurant. You're trying to create a personal account or a business account. He would give some address, right? So his own address is giving. Like say you are holding or let's say you are trying to register for McDonald's, and in that case you are trying to give your username, email ID, plus your own address you're giving it. So based on the customer locations, I should be able to find out the nearest restaurant on your radius, whatever it is. Because somehow you have come to McDonald's restaurant, so you won't leave your nearby home restaurant to a little more far away, and you won't choose that restaurant as yours. So we only will pick it up as a restaurant. Multiple branches we have, so we will find the nearest location to you, and we'll make sure that we're gonna deliver something food on a very quick. Maybe the delivery time stamp should be very quick enough. So that is our motive, McDonald's motive. So find nearest branch, whatever the address that you're giving it. If not, we will have standard branch to supply for you. If that kilometer of the radius is too much high, then we say that with this in this particular locations, restaurant is not available. Something that we can say. So for that reason only, I just bought this use case on instead of an account based on the address. So we wanted to look at the nearest restaurant. Getting?
Yeah.
So I want to sign up of that particular account only. I can do this activity. Getting? So the moment you try to insert and you click on a save, So you should see the nearest branch address there. So it could be Hyderabad, Kukatpally, whatever Bumpally, whatever the name that is there, it should be.
Okay.
So this would be coming under before insert. Why? Because on insert only I'm talking about, so it will come under before insert. So you should watch perfectly. You should watch the previous class because we have talked about triggers order of execution. So each and every line we have covered. So today we'll have, let's say you are loading a record. Next you're doing validation. Third step, fourth step, like that. We have a couple of steps there. I think that video would help you out.
Sure, sure. I'll go to that video.
But that is
Then
about,
I'll ask questions. Yeah.
so yeah. So that is all about just understanding how before triggers, in what case, what it works. But having this basic knowledge is enough. Saying that when the before would work, when the after would work.
Okay.
But you got right. So before is impacting the same, after is
Yeah.
impacting on the some other object.
Yeah.
That too only on a saving of the object impacting some other object. That
Okay.
record, either it is update, delete, whatever you're doing it, you should perform the action. Only then you're impacting others.
Yeah.
See, this is on inside I was talking. So I've written a case to here. Uh, on update of an account address, recheck the nearest branch or nearest restaurant. So maybe you're changing their address now. So again, I should relocate your the nearest restaurant, right? It's not only on the insert we are trying to find out your nearest branch. Even in update also we are trying to find the nearest branch.
Mm.
So that also could be. So that will come up before update. See here, you are trying to modify something on the object called account. And I am saying that in account we have a nearest restaurant address field. So the impact is on the same object still. Getting? So until unless you are impacting the same object, you will be staying with the before only. The moment you start impacting others, you will come to after triggers.
Okay.
Maybe after whenever it is. On insert an update of a property, roll up the property value to an account. Hmm. So this is about roll up summary we're talking about. If you have lookup relationship, you wanted to roll up the values. Let's say customer contact is the one we have. Um, a good example is an account itself cannot have a we can't justify saying that hey you are holding there's many customers, or we can't do roll up activity on a customers, sorry, staffs. How many staffs that you're holding it? For example, here it says customer contact one. For this particular, let me go to MCD restaurant list. In Telangana, I don't have a customers. If you think. Hmm, okay. So this is a branch that we have, and if you go here, you have a customer contacts here. So what do you mean by this is, so let's say, um, I think this for individual is what I think so. Customer contacts. Stephen John is an independent customers of this particular Kokatpalli. So that's the reason we have here Stephen John. Okay, so no problem. So we will get some scenario to address the after triggers. Since it's a restaurant, so this was my previous class ideas that which we bought. How do you do after update trigger? How to do delete? But we'll utilize this the logic whichever we used. Like say when do you want to stop? When do you want to delete a record? What the count should be? So we'll match up with the real time. So the first things I want to do is on insert of an account. Let's get some address. Look at the nearest branch. That whatever we could. So first let's start with that. Hey, and then before that, we need to know trigger context variables. Trigger context variables. So this is okay. So trigger context variables. What is this trigger context variables? trigger dot. Let's come from before. So we have before, we have after. So in this before, we have classified into multiple things like how this before, insert, update, delete. These are trigger context variables. I think before and delete. Yes, you can do something. All right. So before, after, and then. So we have trigger dot new, trigger dot old, trigger dot new map, trigger dot old map. So what these two things talks about? Trigger new, trigger new old, and trigger new map old map. So these are when do they used it? I'll tell you. So this is a type of trigger dot new is a type of list. So trigger dot new map is a type of map. Is getting? So when I talk about list, that means any new record you're trying to insert or any record that you wanted to update on a before event, please use this trigger dot new. So when it is effectively used, so we'll put on the top. So this is a list category where you're trying to process like a list of records. How we have something like a list of account we are processing. Same way, this trigger dot new will give me a list of records. If you have duplicate records you're processing, it can have duplicate also. So ideally, the record you're trying to modify or trying to create a record, it will be in trigger dot new. If a record that you're trying to delete a record, so that will be triggered at old. So triggered at always will hold previous context of the record. It could be one record, it could be multiple records. So here, so holds the current context of the records. It could be one or it could be multiple. So using current context, what I can do is I can do where generally triggered at news are used for before insert and update before update. Is getting? So this is used for before insert or before update. So now, um, where do trigger dot olds are used? It could be used in before delete because it is holding the previous context. You're trying to capture few things in before delete. And of course, sometimes you wanted to compare the previous value and the current value because always I said the previous context and this is holding current context. Now, what if we compare with this? So let me come back here to the record. So this is an already a record is present. So this is already an existing record we have. I'm trying to edit and I say I'm going to click on something. I'm going to modify some number to 400 to some 000. So the moment I save the record, so this save record, the moment you click on this, the background process of this would have, if you try to process with trigger.new or trigger.old, so trigger.new will hold so this whatever the newly modified changes. Along with this entire record, it will have this newly modified change. So that trigger.new will hold. What trigger.old will hold is just now before this 435 that or whatever entered, that will be in there in trigger.old context. So why two versions we have if you think? So we wanted to compare the old and the new value change. Is of course we wanted to play with trigger.old and trigger.new. So this is a simple scenario where I'm saying about a phone number change. There could be some multiple change here. So I wanted to compare my current value and a previous value. Only if you got changed, only then I allow you to update the record. Maybe changing this is impacting to know some other scenario. If you think so, you are not allowing them to save. For example, you're trying to update a value, you're trying to update an address. So we don't have a branch near the location. So what should I do? I should say that because you're trying to give an address, we don't have a branch there. Are you okay with that? So suppose some, I mean, if they say yes, or you are strictly saying that we'll override the value, then it depends on this. We may throw an error message saying that the address which you are trying to type here, so we don't have a nearest branch, so this modification cannot be done. Is it? Or maybe your important account number, you're releasing it off, you're taking this off. So we're saying that first you cannot take this off since it is impacting some elsewhere. So all that you can have a pre-check. So to do this, yes, of course, now only you can start. But the previous value and the current value, when I want to compare, so you should use trigger.old and trigger.new. So as I said, the same record which is going for a execution, maybe for a saving a record, so it will have a new version and old version. So it is just matter of say you click on save. So in this between this simple click on a save in a fraction of a second, so many calculations happens. So we check if at all you are written a program an old and new. See all the logics of a controlling things are there in the Salesforce. So we need to invoke them and you have to check them, verify them. It's all our pain. See, as a big surgeon doctor you are, so you know what, where to call, when to do, so what now to change, all that you know. Unless and until you do it, so that particular the operation whatever you're doing could be successful. So if he's doing a basic thing and he's getting out of it, maybe temporary solution it is, but not maybe the permanent one, which is an exact fix that you wanted to do it. So if you are verifying your old and the new, no any impact, just go ahead if you same, then you're actually authenticating each and every piece of the operation, whatever that you're doing it. The same way it should be here also. You should compare the previous and the current, what is going to change, all that you have to verify. So this record, for the same record, the old context will have been triggered at old, and for the new record, the event will be then triggered at new. If that is a case of update, I'm saying. If in just case of insert record, so you are very new, so you don't have an idea of the record. You just came in. Like say, I would have gone here, I would have clicked on new account, and the new account it says is this. So this is absolutely new record. It doesn't have any old context also. It is absolutely to be getting inserted. So they can come under the trigger.new. So only said trigger.new can be used in both before insert or before update. So they're okay with that. So this guy's trigger can be used in before delete or it can be used in before update also we can be used just for comparing a value. Okay, so now why they have to do this all if you see uh, if you are trying to insert only one single record, okay, in the trigger.new context only this record will be there. I mean whatever you're trying to insert along with whatever the values all you inserted it will come there. But what if you're trying to insert 1,000 record? Again, this trigger.now will hold 1,000 records in the context. Each record, like in a for loop, they will run through and they will all follow the same rules. What for single record you're doing it, same it will follow for others also. So that's what I'm saying. It is a bulkified code where trigger.new can hold a single record or a bulk record, which is all incoming changes. If you go to data loader and if you're trying to upload 1,000 records, and of course, while it is inserting a record, so it should follow the triggers process because you are already written logic there. Unless and until you write a trigger, we don't care. But you start writing trigger there. Of course, we have to just go through the code and then execute them and then save it. So till now, you can do a quick save here. No trigger will be executed because no trigger on this particular object. If you write a trigger on this object, so it should go under the process of them and execute them and then come back. Because till now, you were thinking that I was given yesterday an example of so point click and a trigger. If I say point click, it is something like a compound nurse or the generic doctor who is a general physician. If you say that I have a fever, so he'll give few medicines to you. So those are these guys. If you say trigger, so they are surgeons. So they can do a surgery where these guys cannot do it. So that is what we're comparing here. A point click is like a validation workflow, a process builder flows. All this you do by point click, where a trigger, whatever they can do this. Simple thing they can do it. What you cannot do in the point click, then you come to trigger, right? So they can do much more than the point click is what can trigger can do. Why it is because some complexity bring here which they cannot be accommodating with a single record, or maybe you're trying to deal with a multiple record, they can do it. So only we land with the triggers. So if you insert 1,000 records, if you don't have any trigger logic, so they will check the basic things and then save it. If you return a trigger logic there, so each record will need to save. So it should go under this process and then say that which before is used or after is used. Then all the order of execution comes in picture. So step 1 to 23 or 21, whatever it has to go, it should go for each and every record what has been passing through. Because we don't know. Each record should be considered for an upgrade statement or insert statement. So you should be very careful there when you're dealing with such. Okay, in trigger context variables, of course, we will have trigger.new node. So trigger.new would be if you are inserting a data loader, okay, it's fine. So all the 1,000 records would be here. 1 lakh records would be here. Don't mind. It will be running in chunk by chunk, or it is going in one go. So whatever the maximum trigger.new can take, it will take it. And each record will in a for loop, it will keep going and do the activity. Of course, you're trying to do a compare. Okay, trigger new and old. Both will try to compare and then do the activity. So this is a type of list. Here, this guy comes a type of list of map. Sorry, it's a map of account. I'm just giving an example of an account object. It could be any object. So map of ID comma account. So this is generic map. So what this will hold? So when to use? So it will hold the current context of the records. Of course, here also it is because context variables means it will hold what is the context that you're doing it. Either insert, update, or whatever you're doing, that will be here. It will not change. But the type is here. It is a list and here it is map. Why you should have list and map if you same? If I wanted to deal with authentic records, I need to have map, and it is makes the processing much faster than the list type. And moreover, you can assure that okay, of course, the unique records only getting updated. To deal all with this, we need to have map. Okay, this is also all the current context of the records, but they will be holding a map. So look at this. They have ID comma account. Then for a new record, these guys cannot be used. Without an ID, you can't use it. For example, this is a new record which is absolutely coming as a new record. So you can't use trigger.map new map here because they don't have an ID. Trigger.new, they don't have an ID. Without an ID, how can you deal with this account? So in a before activity, do not use trigger.new map. In the before insert activity, you yet to save the record. Without a saving record, an ID will not be there, and you cannot do anything with this. So generally, so where and all you will use this trigger.new map. Um, in before update, you can use it. Why I'm saying before update? Because this guy will have an ID. You are updating a record, right? And updating a record should have an ID. Only then you can update the record. So that time I can use trigger.new map. Before update, after insert, after update. So in many places, this trigger.new map can be used. And here also, it was the previous context of the records. So ideally, you can use in before delete, before update, anywhere you can use it because this ID is there. Old map means I have the previous context. If I'm trying to delete a record, of course I have a ID of that record. I have you want to update, I have ID of the record. After delete. So before delete or after delete, anything works out here. So generally why we say before, after alias is so this is a type. Anywhere it can be used. So nothing specifies that in before only you should use, after only we should use. We don't have such restrictions. But if you use nicer when you have maps like this. But on a new record, so this is like a newborn. So we have trigger.new. because this trigger.new can accept without an ID also which is coming in. And then later I try to insert the record. So trigger.new map always carries the ID. Key value pairs they are looking for. So this guy doesn't have a key value. It's okay. He has a value. That's enough. With the help of that, real process to insert the record. But this guy, they must have ID always. You are trying to reference an account. Where's ID? Will ask. So ID if I want, I don't have an insert. In before insert alone, I can't deal this. Except before insert, I think you can use in majority. Before update, after insert, after update. Old map, of course, I want the previous context of the record. Yeah, delete. If you're trying to compare the previous value and the current value, you can use them. In after update also, I can use this trigger old map and the new map. I can compare them. I think the video will end now. We need to reconnect again. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But any questions here, guys?
No, good.
Okay, so maybe while writing a program, we'll get to know. But just understand the context variables, like what this guy saying, new, old, all this talks about. So let me stop and again restart again because it's less than a minute. Yeah. Okay. So let's quickly write a program for this. At least we'll deal with the trigger.new. And so we have to see the syntax, right? So like say the moment you try to click on new, you have an apex trigger here. And it's asking you a question that on which object that you wanted to choose. So let's say I'm dealing with an account object. So I have to choose account object here. If I'm dealing with any custom object, so then I should say that custom object should be chosen here. Trigger can be written on the any of the object here. Standard, custom, whatever it is fine. So you say account trigger. That's enough. This is a trigger name I'm just giving it. Account trigger. You see this. This is the syntax that we have. Mm, so it'll be trigger name on which object, what are the events. Trigger name on on standard or custom object name. So here it talks about the events. Events. So these events could be either they are based out of before or after DML events. Okay. So here the logic goes. Is getting? So an example we're just doing here is before insert, before update, or after insert, after update. Is getting? So trigger name on object and then followed by events. You can have a comma specified and you can have multiple events here. All the before categories you can add and all the after categories you can have, and for each you can have a logic here. So logic goes here. So any questions so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's start to deal with the before insert at the very beginning. See, you can write a logic You can write a logic here only. You can write a logic here only in a trigger. You say that, okay, now my code should be well aligned and then should have a best practice should be followed. Then you should, I mean, you can have separate helpers methods also, helper classes also. I'll tell you how. But before that, we will do a simple operations, writing a logic here. Though it is not a best practice, but let's see. A trigger logic can be achieved here also. So let's have a for loop. I said you a trigger dot new will get me the context of, let's see, will get me the context of the current variables.
I have one question. So when we write a trigger, it should be a new class.
This one.
Yeah, so it should be a new class, right? It cannot be,
So
it's not a method level.
no, you just need to go to file new and then you should click on Apex trigger and
Oh,
it will be
Apex
this way.
trigger. Okay, okay,
So
okay.
you should choose as a trigger. Of course, this ideally at the background thing. If you look at this, this works like an Apex class, but they name
Mm-hmm.
it as Apex trigger.
Okay,
Even their extension is not APX. It's not Apex class. It's APT something. Uh, that Apex trigger they talk about. It's a
okay.
separate extension. Separate extension
Yeah,
called Apex
yeah.
trigger they given. So then, of course, you have to have trigger and then object and trigger name on which object. What are the events?
Okay, got
So you
it.
are specifically writing an account. So what is the pain here is whenever you are trying to deal with an account, see till so far you were dealing with out of the box sales was whatever the save logic they working, you are okay with that. And today you are disturbing the original or you are touching the basement of this account object. If you don't write a logic properly here, this may impact the save records. Until you for account. So why I'm writing this for loop here? If you think according to this, trigger.new can hold the current context of the records. Correct, right? Either you are before insert or before update. Before insert is something that I'm saying on a new record you're trying to insert. I want to deal with this. So this trigger.new will hold any records. The new record which you're trying to insert. So it will be here. It will be here for sure. You're trying to insert like this 1,000 records from a data loader. So will trigger for that account is running. So that trigger.new will hold the 1,000 records whatever it is incoming. So they are always bulkified of having list type. So each record we have to now process with using for loop. So this is absolutely like select ID, common name from account, whatever you're giving it, or what are the fields that all you're filling. So all it will be coming under this context. Getting? It's a list of account records. Now it is flowing in. You think now acc dot name is equal to blank. You are trying to do this. Hmm? So now I save this record. Look at this. How powerful is trigger? I know I've changed the background logic. So now you're trying to give some name here. Um, Bumble restaurant. Okay. So who is a parent account? Could be Hyderabad Kukatpalli. McDonald's Bumpally. Another name. Yes, I'm giving it. I'm clicking on save. What is this? I give a name. You're stopping this. Correct, right? I given a name. You're saying the required fields are missing name. I given the value. Word is not allowing me to say. So something that you are a surgeon, you have disturbed some nerve. So that is the reason it is costing this guy to not to proceed or walk further. Look at this. So if you touch the basement of your system, so you should be very carefully you're dealing with. If something goes wrong, there's a record it won't allow you to save unless and until you fix that issue. So you have went to the beneath of the particular trigger of an account object and you have said that okay, just simple statement. Look at this. So in a before trigger, you are trying to impact on the same object I said. Now this impact is on the same object. Now you're trying to do insert. I'm making while the new record is flowing in. I said I'm making this blank at the background. That is causing the issue. Getting? You're trying to save a record there. You're making it account dot name is equal to blank here. Why? Because this is before saving a record, you're trying to impact all this logic. Before you're trying to save a record, you're trying to impact all the logic. Now the record is yet to save. But what happened is someone changed the context. Though it is in the UI at the very beginning, you given it. So it ran to the trigger logic. So there someone modified this value to a blank.
So, Kant, I have one question. When does the trigger initiate?
So the moment you click on a save, it fires.
Okay.
Unless and until you don't, I mean, we won't worry about it. So the moment you click on a save,
Mm-hmm.
so it takes all this value to a trigger, and in that it started processing in this trigger and you have all the values of them. So when it flowed in, so you modified the value. You made it to a blank.
Okay. So basically, before insert means when before we are doing hitting while hitting the save button, this trigger gets.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. This recorder side is not generated and it's absolutely into the before saving a record.
Okay.
Getting? So yes, look at here. Still, we didn't get into a save mode, right? So I can do some other name here. So whatever I give a name, that only will be pre-populated. So what it is came in, it doesn't care. What we pre-populated from the background, so that is again matters. This only will be updated. Why? Because you have modified this value. Getting? So generally like a workflow field update. If you see a field update, the moment a record is getting saved, you're trying to field update on that particular record.
So when you're writing the trigger class here in the developer console, you're not doing anything like execute or anything, but it is already executing, right?
Yeah, because if you have a class, see always we need to have trigger point. So what I was doing so far, I was going to this anonymous window and I was calling this class name dot method name whatever it is. So that was my
Mhm.
triggering point. That
Yeah.
I call a
Okay.
class and then I pass a value and then
You
I
trigger
try
it.
to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So I was manually triggering here.
Okay. Here the trigger keyword is doing all the
Yeah,
under the hood thing.
yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying that before insert, that means I'm now live. So you're saying that before insert, you're saying okay, let me run on the before insert. Of course, this
Okay.
record is before insert only. I'm trying to do it.
All right.
If someone says here after insert, so it's absolutely after this record is getting saved. I'm trying to impact on this.
Mm.
So it is up. Why it is holding is if it's, you said it is before. Okay, I will do make sure before this is absolutely committing to a Salesforce database. Let me try to run now only. So that is it is context. Any before triggers are before saving a record only. You will check it because after saving you cannot do anything. So you know before getting into a theater, no whatever the screen. So we are checking your ticket, right? So that is a prerequisite. So I'm checking right over there. If something an issue, I'll throw it from there only. If you're okay, you're verified, then only I'll have to save. So I'll get into a theater. So
So
absolutely
can't
before.
what condition? I didn't understand that.
Uh-huh. That is it you.
For loop, what is that? So trigger new will give the.
Trigger.new is currently holding this record.
Okay.
Why? Because always I said trigger.new will hold the current context of the record which is flowing in. From a UI, you are been hitting it because this is the only record which has been here hitting it. So that record is came to the context here. If you're doing a data loader,
Oh,
sending
okay. So
sending
data
a
load
tab-
one then multiple.
sending yeah, they can have multiple records.
Okay.
This is a minor change I'm trying to do an insert onto the new UI. So only this record will flow here. But always we are not sure, no? On the UI only I will insert. So
Yeah.
I may can go to a dev console anonymous window. I can write a for loop here. I can insert 100 records here. So even these 100 records will come to this execution. You said before insert. So they will go under the before trigger process. They will come here for sure. So trigger.new would hold that 100 records and each record they will start processing and then they'll do it.
Got it.
I we don't worry about, we don't care about where you're coming from. But they should be there for sure to execute because you have touched the basement of the account object. Unless and until we were trying to deal with all the point like say go process builder, do update that the way you're saying it. Maybe they're also under the execution. Sometimes they can skip out, but triggers, whatever you write is, they will run for sure. Unless and until you didn't worry about trying to trigger an account. Now you return it an account. So the priority is this. Like how we have profile as a priority, now a trigger is a priority. First we'll go there, we'll check, and then if this guy says okay, only then we say next to save. So like that it is now. Okay, so somehow I have to allow you to do a save activity here. So I'm just saying here, pre-populate. So why I'm saying this is an example. So though you give an account name, actually this is the record which is floating, but while before insert record logic, inside you have modified. So absolutely this trigger dot new we're holding it. Let me print this. System dot debug account name. So before an account name I'm changing it, I'll print them. So this was the original value. So whatever you given in the UI, that's still it printed here. The same thing what happens, you modified it. So now after saving of a record, you can see them. Oh boss, you change the value. So the account name is now changed to pre-populated trigger. You are so powerful, you can get the record and you can do some activity here. You can change them also based on the logic that you're doing it. So that's the reason I'm printing this. And moreover, before triggers doesn't have any DML statements. Very important thing. So always before triggers, we do not write any DML statements. What do you mean by that? So we don't say update account like this. All we don't say. In before triggers, we don't say this. Guys, getting insert account. We don't say this. One in before triggers because they are impacting on the same object. I know that in before what you do is we try to manipulate few things while before record is getting saved. Already you fired an action, right? This is absolutely doing for insert or update. It knows. So why you wanted to write a new DML activity there? DML statement, sorry. It's getting in a before trigger logic. You need not to do any write any DML statements like say insert update. You should not write it. Why? Absolutely, you're having an undo of a record which has already been there here. It has already fired an event. It should come across. I mean, it should finally end with the save or whatever the operation that you're doing it. So they only already fired. So why you want to try it again? And you are impacting on the same object. So this is already like a insert, DML update. So why you want to try it again? So that will give an error. If you want, you can do this. Anywhere in for loop, only single record is there. No? Though it is not a best practice, I'm saying it. It got saved, right? Look at this. Account trigger execution before insert caused by the DML object exception. DML statement cannot operate on trigger.new. Our old. Why? This is absolutely before trigger. In a before trigger logic, you cannot have in a DML statement. That is what it's saying. See, writing a small crappy code here will impact your original record to save. Unless and until it was a simple UI, you were playing with the Salesforce, you are saving it, the record. But something you go mistakenly modify this. If this is in a production or if something in the UAT which is claimed is testing out, and if this is hit, what you guys are doing here? So this is so important. Why you are breaking the system here like that? They will ask you. So because of so your trigger logic something went wrong, so it could be issue. So we should be careful enough. So ideally, our save logic always should work fine. Or update our logic always it should work fine because if you don't write trigger also, Salesforce itself take care of them to save a record properly. So you came and modified the existing code, or you tried to modify the disturb the original logic. our sales was written, you're overwriting the logic like this, and that should not have an impact. So you should be very careful on this. So before triggers doesn't have any DML statements. So that for that only I've written the a DML statement there. Okay, let's save this. I'm saying the previous value should be something, and after pre-populated you are changing something. I know you are giving McDonald's Bumpoli restaurant. So save this. It should save now because they don't have any issues. See, I was given as a Bumpoli, but it is created as a pre-populated trigger. Now, if you have logs, go quickly check them. So whatever the logs that something is going on, he'll get a statements here. See, DML statement cannot operate on the trigger. That's what they're saying. Not that. I think this. This is. Oh, sorry. See, the very beginning when it came, it was McDonald's restaurant Bumble. We have written approval for a restaurant. The moment a restaurant is getting created, we have to do that. Okay. No problem. Look at this. McDonald's Bumpoli was the early name which I sent. In the between, it got modified with the pre-populated trigger. See here. So in the very beginning, when the record flowed in, so there's a whole bunch of the fields all it is coming in. Here the name you can see McDonald's Bumpoli. Record type 1 ready, extending all this as the existing value. And in the program, what it is, you have whatever it came is correct. Trigger.new was correct. You purposely change the value to something, and that was the value which got updated. And this went on to save and went on to save. Look at this. We don't have any DMLs or been captured here because the trigger is fired. You just absolutely click on save as an UI. You didn't write any logic purposely to do a DML insert. You didn't do it. So that's the reason we don't have any statements been published here. Getting? You didn't query. You didn't have put a single DML statement. So then why this all will have a count? So absolutely all from the trigger.new, which is what is getting that we're doing it here. But writing such logic within a trigger is the bad practice. So why we say it is a bad practice is because always your logic should be or no such helper methods should put into helper methods. Okay, let me put this way. Trigger is something like a traffic signal. So you should tell them go left, go right. This go left will take to some other location. Go right will tell to go to some other location. So of course each and every road which is goes, if you change the direction, it will go to somewhere else. Left, right. So the same way here also it is. So we should navigate them. If you are before trigger, insert, go to this side. If you are an after side, after insert, go to this side. So you should have a proper definitions, helpers written for them. And the same logic you can put there. So what that I saying? 100% you can put all logic here, it will work. But that not the best practice which Salesforce says. Don't dump your whole code into the trigger here. So that is what as a best practice they say. So to do what we have to do, not eliminate this, we have to have a Apex class I'm gonna create. I'm gonna say account trigger. You can say helper or you can say handler. Anything is fine. So always make sure you can have multiple helper classes. That is fine, but have only one trigger on one object. So do not write multiple triggers on object. Yes, of course you can create, but that's not a best practice again. Because what you're getting, what I'm trying to say is you're writing a trigger on some object on account object. Have please only one this. Play with this maximum once you get it here. It's okay, but do not create account trigger two on account object. It'll allow you to save it. It'll allow you to create a new what is it triggers. That does not be best practice because you not know which one would run first, this or that or the other one. So you have to roam around with them. So it's not a good practice. Rather, you can have a proper one trigger per object. So that's the best practice. One trigger per object. Then have independent logic put into like these controllers and start dealing with them. Okay, so since I said it's a before triggers, so we should check are you a before trigger. So if trigger dot is before, so then you start executing on the before. So I'm just now controlling them saying that hey, you are before, go here. If it is after, go here. So you are dealing with before insert, right? So you have to come with the before here. It will go directly to a before logic side. If your returns come after something, so then it'll come to this if logic here, unless and until they don't execute at all. So now, so this you saying that okay, on which logic I wanted to put on before or after. So that is your call. Anyways, so I have a class written here. So the purpose of this class is to have helper methods, which is making your job easy. So I will say public static. You can have word also, it's okay. You're not writing anything here. Simply fire it off. And why static means directly you can use class name dot method name, right? So that's the reason I'm saying. So I'm saying before insert. Of course, you're saying before insert, what is the input that you wanted to send? So I don't want to process a logic here if thing. Send the trigger.new to that particular method. So if trigger.new is coming in, set their list of records, right? Trigger.new is basically sending me a list of records. And absolutely I'm dealing with account. So I'm saying new records. Now the whole for loop you can take it from here and you can put it here. So no more it's new records here. Trigger.new sent here, you should replace them. Because what are the input parameters you're sending there? It will come as new records, and this new record is holding bunch of account records, and ACCD name is all the same. You get it? So this is how you split the logic. So it was actually whatever it is doing, I just thrown out to this particular method. I know the incoming fields are account records, which is a list of account records. I wanted to get them here. So now what should I make that it will work here? So you are under you see this under before you are getting into insert logic. So then you call them. So this is subtly called as before insert, like after insert. You can get in them. You can also like this, right? Is this. So this is something talking about you are a before insert, you write into insert. If you are a before update, it will get here. So look at this classifying things you're doing it. Now all the before guys go to the before I say. And your insert you come here. Your update you come here. So we are maintaining like a traffic signal wherever whoever wants. So go if you written logic properly, it will come down to there respectively. This is how you do a best practice code. So currently we're dealing with before insert. So let's go here only. So what is the class name that you written? Account trigger handler. Okay. What is the method name written? Before insert. Okay. Class name dot method name. You should give it. That's how the static method works. And what is input parameter they're expecting? So you should pass me the account of list of records. How do you pass list of account records here? Trigger dot new. Why? Because trigger dot new is holding the current context of your program. Either you try to do update or you try to do insert. So this trigger dot new is the one first which is holding that. So I'm directly passing the trigger dot new to this class method. It goes here. Of course, the input is like having list of records. So I'm just passing here and then doing a for loop logic here. Any questions here?
Yeah, so on account the parameters before insert, before update, um, and after insert, after update also we can give there, right?
Yeah, you can have a couple of this method. You can use this. So use them wisely, I'm saying. So when do you want to use trigger.new? Simple case like this. You're dealing with simple list of records, you can use them. If you want to deal with something like a map, yeah, of course you have an ID come account. So then you can use this maps.
No, no, no. The parameters I'm asking.
Yeah, the same way. If you are trying to deal with the after update or something like an update you want to do, you're comparing previous and whole value, right? So here your params can change. Trigger.new will only take the current value. Let's say tomorrow you're asking, hey, I want trigger.old also. So pass like this. So for the current incoming record, so you're sending the new context and you're sending the old context also. So
Okay,
then
no,
later
I'm talking about the top one. Sorry, go back.
this one,
Yeah, yeah. Before insert, after update, before update.
uh,
So there are default parameters, or we can add more like after insert, after update also there.
yeah, all the events that you need to add them there. See whatever the events that before,
Okay.
after, all of them you have to add there. See one trigger or one object, one trigger. If I say I need to have all the events here before insert, update, delete, all what you have, and after insert, after update, after delete, all that you need to have here only.
So where we are okay, where we are using those parameters before insert, before update.
See when I say before, all the befores are classified here to before. Firstly, I'm making a division here. Hey, you are belong to before, you belong to after. I'm saying under that I'm saying, okay, you are before, now you are in insert category. Go to this. You're in update category. Go to this.
So what happens if you don't give those before insert, before update?
Where
There in the
first line.
yeah.
Of course, you can have. I think you need to have at least one event to present there. At least you need to have one event to present there. Without events, you can't do anything. But something like you're writing logic for before update, you think it can work. Now we know it is a update event. You didn't specify here.
Yeah. What will happen?
It won't execute. Very very important is whatever you mention in this line, only then you can direct here. So what I'm trying to say is, if your traffic signal is not saying you left, you never go to left.
Okay.
A road is
So
there, but you never directed a signal there. Road is everything is there, but you never directed a signal here.
okay, if you want to use the trigger is insert, before insert should be there. If you want to
Yes.
use is before update
I
should be there.
look at this. All the logic I've written. You think so? Tomorrow I'm writing so many. Everywhere I have logic written. All are present, but you written only insert here. So
Yeah.
it'll go here. It'll go here. It'll execute. Done. It'll never go anywhere else. That's all.
Okay. Got it.
Because your traffic signal, let's say, has only one route path. Says go straight. That's all. No left, no right. If you mention yes, of course they can go to different routes. But if you don't have, then they can go in. But at least one event you need to have. So I have taken this out and I tried to save, but it didn't allow me to save it. So one event you at least you need to have. So any questions? Thirdly, this is like something like so I don't have any update activity here. So what is my logic is, let's say if I try to create a new record, again it will say that in the new record what you're doing is you're trying to do a pre-populated trigger, you're doing it. So of course new record, whenever you insert, all it will have a pre-populated logic only. Is getting. So if again I try to go insert a new record, whatever the name you give, it doesn't care. So again, it will change the value to pre-populated value only. Okay, so we don't want to change on the account name. Something else you want to do it. So this, of course, you can do it. So what was our assignment is on insert of an account based on the address. I want to look at the nearest restaurant. Got it? Something. Let's write a handy method. So that will be helping us. Mm, if you are an account and if you have an account number, so I'm saying that I would create a field called as mm, nearest restaurant. So that field I will try to impact. So what I do is I go to object manager, count. So it's a text field which I'm going to create. So I say nearest restaurant. So based on the address, whatever you're going to give, so I'll try to populate the nearest restaurant field. So where this can be, I want this only to be present in my individual or business customer, no elsewhere I don't want. Got it, right? So you are a customer. When the moment the customer is giving information is only then I can say that, hey, this is nearest restaurant for you. I don't want any other people here. So save them. Okay. So let me refresh this page. I should see. Okay, all right. So when I say this is a restaurant, so who is the company guys for us? Customers, for example, individual customers. Oh, sorry, I was on mute, I think. So what I was saying is, if you are a new customer and that too individual user, so then I can see a nearest restaurant here. So you should not allow them to edit something here. It should be read field at the layout level. So the moment you give address, so automatically you'll find the nearest branch or restaurant for this individual user. Let's say he's giving Kukatpalli as his address. So then we'll find the Kukatpalli as his nearest restaurant. So that's how we have to figure it and then update the record here. So let's do that. Um, So what my logic is, so you are trying to public public string fetch. You have saying um, you're saying fetch the restaurant name. You're saying so in that you're just trying to pass the bill, billing address. So again, that could be billing address. Something like this billing address is saying it, and based on the billing address, I need to figure out and find the nearest restaurant to you. So for this, we need to write a query because I have to go and figure out who is this particular recorder. I have to go and figure out for this particular individual record. So whatever the address that you're given here, you're seeing billing street, shipping street, all this you're giving it. So based on this, I should figure out which particular area that you're looking for. So my billing. So let me record. So what is my intention is you are giving a billing address. Based on the billing address, I should find out your nearest location of this restaurant. That is more than enough to me to pre-populate. So this is what I'm trying to do is so your a record which is flowing and has to see go check the billing address. If someone is holding that address, bring them back and update my nearest restaurant here. So we're not going to disturb any more these guys. So we're going to deal on account dot. So that nearest field is not there here since we didn't reload. Nearest restaurant, I've taken this copy and I'm putting it here. So what is this returning? Returning me a address which could be after you call a method, you're returning them, right? What are you passing here? So you may pass billing street. Count down billing street. If the billing street comes as something like Kokatpally, so we are trying to find the a branch name is holding Kokatpally. Sorry, look at this crazy. If the method is not static, you can't reference from the static. So that's the reason they're saying. So this method should return me some string. So let me do um, select. Hmm, just a minute. So how many individual customers we have? MCD individual customers. Don't have any individual customers. Okay. So how are you trying to create a record? So we have to find the nearest branch and then we have to associate that particular accounts there. So if it's a business customer, so these many business customers we have. So MCD Google India is reporting to whom? So they're reporting to Kukatpally. And listen until so this particular account is holding where's the nearest branch here? Yeah, let's just start. I'll do one thing here. So MCD Google India and their address is holding Kukatpally. So that time I automatically has to match the nearest branch as McDonald's Hyderabad Kukatpally. That's how I should do it. Basically, I have to find the parent account there and then get the related address here. So what I'm going to do is actually finding the nearest restaurant is not the creating a field. You should update the account. It's getting. So I thought like to get their address. I thought, but that makes sense to me to update their parent account. Let's say for example, you're an account which you're trying to insert because we need to know where we are reporting. MCT Google India. So you are giving a Kukatpally here. Where is that? You are giving Kukatpally here in the city, or maybe you're seeing. Okay. Based on the Kukatpally, whatever the address you click on save, I should populate your parent account where you're going to report to. So this particular account, where is going to report to? That matters. So nearest restaurant for me would be who are you reporting to? Of course, Kukatpally is a restaurant, right? So this is a restaurant for me. So instead of giving a separate field called as restaurant name, so I should do that parent account. So it's not a nearest restaurant. Finding the nearest restaurant means we are trying to find the nearest parent account. So based on the billing address, let me find an account. Select name from account. And moreover, this is okay. ID command name from account where account name where name like you can have this keyword. If the name which is having billing street, if that has a value, so pick that account name and then send back. So one record is enough for us to identify the parent account. And I'm saying return ID. So this return account ID, whatever we have, it comes here because you're calling this. So this would return you an ID. That ID or attached into this parent account. Why the account is not having parent account? Just the parent entities. Sorry, that's not a parent account. Is that clear? Absolutely, I'm going to insert a new record, and that record you're trying to say that it is a Kukatpally. Of course, I have to assign them to a nearest branch who is Kukatpally restaurant. Any confusions here?
But billing address matches to name. I don't understand that.
So what I'm trying to do is your city, state, whatever the name that you're giving. So all we are matching to an accounts only. So if the Kukatpally is contains here,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
so I'm just getting the account and mapping here. Of course, I can go to this parent account and I say that their address also is Kukatpally. Get them. Either way, you can do it.
Got it.
I'm just saying simple example. We can also go to the parent account, find their address and matching to our address. Okay, map them. That is also fine. Or because an account name only had a Kukatpally, so the thought of getting them. Okay. So if my addresses are different, not a Kukatpally, they are Bumpally. So then I have to get their particular account and map to this Google India. So that was my motive. So let me go to so tar manufacturer and the tar manufacturer if they doesn't have a parent account, what to do? So every time when you create a account, you should have your parent account, right? Into where you are reporting, that is very important. If you are a business customer, of course I know. So to whom you are reporting to is not like open to anyone. So your address and to our restaurant are very closely tied up. So that we deal with the very beginning only. So let me get to a business account. How many business accounts I have? Sorry, how many restaurants I have? Based on that, let me create a new accounts. So tomorrow, if I say, see, there's one confusion here. You should not give your billing state as Hyderabad here. So that has many here. So many we have. So it'll pick random and then assign to you. So make sure you are having Jubilee Hills, Gachibowli, something that you give, it should present here. Or else go to one level deeper to go to their account and their address and they are having Gachibowli. Okay, get them that particular account. So that anything is fine. So I would give now Gachibowli. I'm gonna create a new account here. New business customers are gonna create, and that business customer should hold. Okay, James, no problem. So I'm just gonna create random manufacturers. Um, Royal Enfield. So Royal Enfield is a customer for us. Royal Enfield, uh, India Private Limited. So this guy has a branch in. This guy has a branch in. You think that they have a branch in Gachibowli. That's it. So I'm gonna enter this. I'm gonna save this record. So it should automatically go find. Okay, who is your reportee? Automatically should get me. I shouldn't give you go to Gachibowli this time. So go to restaurant of the Royal. It is automatically figured out me. It is a Gachibowli. Look at this. Correct, right? Because of your the billing address, I figured out and then found. Okay, this is my branch which I should look for. We can't rename the parent account to something else, so that's the reason it's still like that. It's okay, fine. So basically, we'll say that okay, the Royal Enfield is of that particular Gachibowli location is tied up to this Hyderabad Gachibowli restaurant. Now, any order he makes from a Royal Enfield, so this particular branch has to deliver all the contents to this particular business customers. Any questions here?
Yeah, good.
So yes, of course, you can have a billing address, go to the name, you can do like this, or you can say again billing address or like say billing street. Sorry, you can get this way also. Anything is fine. Something in restaurant is having something an account is having a billing state is matching the same as what I'm giving it. So get their account is also fine. It's not absolutely I'm finding for a name. This also would work because I'm matching exactly with the billing. Let me put as billing street only here. This is not absolutely the same name could be. So bill street, the new incoming value. With that I can match our. This is open to any account. If the street is exactly matching, so that account is getting back. So make sure our business account should hold all the addresses. That's very important. So like Hyderabad Gachibowli, you are doing it right. So it's a restaurant and their billing address should have this name. Is that Gachibowli? So I'm not looking for name as of now for the account. Account could be something different what we do. So always we verify with their address and then only we'll match them. So this was you expecting, right? So we'll go to their account and then we'll see their address. Only their address, if our address matches, okay, we tie up them. Fine. So tomorrow if you create a new account, so what happens? You given the name as some XYZ in a business customer I'm saying. And in the address you're giving Gachibowli. So our logic would go find restaurant, we say, just pass the billing address. We'll do a quick query here and check. With that billing street address, any of the account we have the same name. It founds and get me the one record. I'll return the account ID, and that will be your the exact record what you wanted to map it. Look at this. I didn't have any update statement here because this is all before activity. I don't need to have any update statement here. And the moreover trigger logic is absolutely we're talking about just before insert. So it's like a traffic signal. You call before insert and you call this class name dot method name. You pass the new context, whatever the records is going in. It went here, came here, and then we started processing to call a method. It went here to find out my nearest parent, and then brought up and attached here. So that's it. It's just like a pre-populating of record we did it. You just click on simply save method that is doing at the background all these many logics. So this is absolutely on it just before insert. So till we have so many here, like say before update, before delete, or after insert, after update, this is all we have till. So only then we can move to the next class. So all we have to complete by tomorrow. Okay. Any questions, Mati?
Yeah, good.
Okay, great. So okay, see you tomorrow. Same time, 7:30
Yeah.
for my team.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.